All right, here it is, live on Friday, July 17th. We're already halfway through July in the year of our Lord 2026. I am your host, your humble host, the most humble man on the planet, the overlord of the wasteland, the engineer combat, the big boss, with the hot sauce and the star of this self-same program, Regalwood Rasslin. This is episode 16. Episode 16. Can you believe it? We made it 16 episodes into this nonsense, and here we are. I had a show last night. Oh, well, before anything else, let me get the plugging out of the way. We're live right now on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Rumble, and Kick. YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Rumble, and Kick. YouTube, of course, the hub of all things Regal. Kind of where it all resides. Everything from the past, the present, and, of course, what we're currently doing, and maybe even into the future. It all sits right there on that YouTube channel. That is Wrestle Radio 860. Wrestle Radio 860 on YouTube. Lots of old stuff there from when I used to do the old Honest to God radio program from back in the day on WLBG Radio. That stuff's up there. A lot of great interviews from great legends. All that stuff sits there. A lot of live events that I was a part of in one way, shape, or form. A lot of the Christmas shows, not all of the Christmas shows are up there. And I honestly, I'll tell you, I don't know why. I thought I had put more than is up there, but for whatever reason, they're not there, or they didn't go up there. I know some of them are on Ricky Chastain's page, but I'm going to try to get some of that stuff and get it moved over to the good old YouTube channel, so all of that can sit in one place. It kind of sits at I actually had it 1.2 used to YouTube. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I'd like to get all that stuff. I'd like to get all that stuff up there to where I can, it all be in one place or the other. Let me see if this is working. All right, yeah, that's working. Yeah, let's go back to this. I don't care for that. Anyway, we are live on all those good old places. Twitch is Regalwood6969, Regalwood6969 on Twitch. Facebook, of course, Ricky Regal, RIKKIREGAL. Rumble and Kick, of course, are Regalwood. There's your bulldog. There's your mascot. Of course, he's a good boy. One of these days, we're going to name him. And I guess his name technically could be Regalwood, which would be a kind of silly dog name for a dog. But maybe one day, if we ever get to big time, we'll host a contest about how we can name our mascot there. Maybe have a big winner and all that good stuff. Yeah, in the event that we ever were to actually make something out of this mess. Last night we did a show, and it wasn't even supposed to be a show. I just really fired it up just to have a quick, it was supposed to be like a quick conversation. Just going to talk a little bit just to, suss out some of my problems that I always have, and we're having one today. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. There has to be a problem. It's I don't know what it is about me, what it is about this particular programs or these programs that I use. I don't know, but there's always got to be a problem, and there's one right now that I'm watching that's making me just madder by the minute. I hope it doesn't affect this broadcast. I don't expect it to, but there's a possibility that it could. But I'm watching it because there's always got to be a problem. Anyhow, came on last night and spoke and had a good time. We had a really good time. A lot of people dropped into the chats. And that one's actually sitting up here on the YouTube channel as well. I don't even know what I named that thing. I'll have to look. I think it was just like, what is this about or something like that. We had a good chat. Had a lot of people come in. Told some old stories. I enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun. I don't know if we'll... Thomas Simpson's in the Facebook chat says there was some lying on that show. When it comes to wrestling, when is there not lies, Thomas? When is there... In this particular business, my friend, when is there not lies? This whole thing is based on a lie. And speaking of that, in my news segment, I want to talk a little bit about the TNA Jeff Jarrett 3-hour premiere there of Dark Side of the Ring. We'll talk about that in a few minutes after I get through this little open here. But speaking of lies, man, woof. Well, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. What else? Lace, I don't know. Let me check the control room. Lace is not with me right now. I don't know if she'll be popping in a little bit. I got to keep check there on the control room. I think she said she had something to do today, but Lace is always a big help. She helped me out getting our interview segments. She helps a lot with that stuff, and of course, she always brings some good stuff to the programs. Next week, we're going to. Thomas says the lies were about him. He don't like being lied about. You of all people should be used to that by now, Thomas. I mean, let's be real. you of all people should be. Thomas Simpson, of course, founder of Omega and lots of other things. You of all people should speak. And speaking of some of your friends, I thought Matt and Jeff came across really well in that thing. Jeff especially. I've never seen Jeff speak the way he spoke in that thing, so I was kind of impressed by that. But again, we'll talk about that more in the next segment. But Lace is not with me today. But next week, next Thursday, we're scheduled to be to have a big show next Thursday, and I know Thomas and Lace both will be at the big gathering down there in Charlotte, or up there in Charlotte, ever how you look at it. And maybe we get some live correspondence from on the showroom floors there. I'm hoping for that to happen. I think that'd be awesome. That'd be fun, and maybe they can go around and chat with some of the attendees. So Thomas is upset. Have you been this heated all night about that conversation from yesterday? It's not when it's about money. Look, man, I don't know, because I talk to everybody, and everybody has their story, right? Everybody's got their story. Everybody's got their versions of the same story. I had a chat with somebody just this past week that I've had extended heat with, and they had their version of the story, which was to be expected. So, who's to say? Certainly, I'm not anybody's judge. I got my own problems, but everybody's got their version. There's your story, there's their story, and then somewhere in the middle, of course, is the truth. So, whatever. But hey, the door's always open. If you want to come on and address it again, we'll fire it back up, man. We're not above. And even Ken in the interview says we are not above stirring the pot here at Regalwood Rasslin, and by God, that is the truth. What else? What else housekeeping we got to do? I don't know. I think that's pretty much it. But the big thing we did last went over an hour. It was like an hour and 20, and so it was fun. It was fun to have people in and chat and kind of discuss this crazy world we all swim around in. Big interview today, Ken Magnum. Loaded Gunz, Ken Magnum is our big interview today. It's another one that's over an hour, just a little over an hour. Really interesting, and there's some breaking news that comes out of it. Be over toward the end of the interview. He breaks some news right here on this interview, so I think that'll be interesting to some of you. And Ken's very honest, which I appreciate. He's very honest. He tells his story, and it's quite interesting. Similar sort of to the Randy Wayne testimony that he did back when we had him on. I was not aware of his situation either, but Ken, as you all know, is a man of faith, and he leans into that, and we talk about that. Of course, he's got his family involved in his presentation now, his wife and son, and so I think they even had. And I meant to bring it up to him when we were talking about he and his son Xander are actually going to wrestle each other this weekend. And I think I tried to get to that, but we got running short on time, and I don't think we got to do that. No, the interview with Ken is pre-recorded. We did it yesterday. Because of timing and scheduling and all that stuff. So it will be a pre-recorded interview. And that's coming up a little bit later in the program. Switch over to a little news now. What we got? I need to get a graphic for news. If I ever do make a dime at this crapping thing, I'm gonna put it back into this. And I'd like to have some sort of transitions, like I have these swirls, but that's just to switch scenes in OBS. And I'm not smart enough. That's the program I use to stream this stuff. I'm not smart enough to figure it out for myself. So maybe one day I will have a production team and they can do me like these transitions into breaking news and that type of stuff. But anyhow, be that as it is, here we are today, and this is our current situation. But I wanted to get into a little news for this week. I mentioned the TNA Jeff Jarrett thing, and I will tell you, it was I said when they announced this year's schedule, I said that I didn't think Jeff Jarrett wanted 3 hours. I think they could have done a whole season on TNA and Jeff Jarrett, honestly. But the only critique I have, and which it doesn't matter, who cares what I think, right? But I have this platform, so I care, and I'm going to tell you what I think. I wish they would have gotten Dixie in there. And I'm sure she had her reasons not to do it. But I think it would have been interesting to have her side of that story, because they did play a little pile on when it came to Dixie. I wasn't there. I have always heard that she did not know anything about the wrestling business. She kind of came in as a legitimate mark who did not understand how this thing works. And she got worked by some masterful carnies in the form of Hulk Hogan, in the form of Eric Bischoff, in the form of I can't even think of Vince Russo, and Jeff Jarrett. Never forget, Jeff Jarrett was born into this thing. He's a master carny also. And I like Jeff, but let's be honest, Jeff's just as much a carny as Hogan ever was. He put that belt on himself for 1,700 days, something like that, some insane amount of time. And I don't know what I can't do math. Thomas is the math wizard. You can tell me how many 1,700 days equals out in years. I can't do that. I'm not that smart. But I think they said it was over 1,700 days. They briefly mentioned it in there that he had a title on himself, because they said Jeff could only trust Jeff. I don't know how you run a business like that. If you only trust yourself, that kind of sets you up a little bit. It would build. I would feel like in a leadership position, it would build distrust, right? Because if you don't trust me enough, even though we're friends or close or whatever the case may be, but you don't trust me enough to run with that position, why am I here? And that's why I think the NWA stuff, when it was the old territory system, a strong governing body had the final say on who wore that title and who they felt was money and who they knew would draw in each territory, right? But not having that with TNA, it's just a company. Scotty Wentz says that's roughly 4.5 to 5 years. Yeah. 4.5 to 5 years he kept the belt on himself. If that ain't carny, baby, I don't know what is. And I'm not, Jeff came across really well in this thing. I will say, if you haven't watched it, Over 4 years, like Vern Gagne in the AWA. Yeah. That's what Thomas says. If you haven't watched it, go and find it. It's on Vice. It's a 3-hour. I think it's all on YouTube now at this point. I believe it may all be on YouTube. I'm not sure. I know the first hour was after they aired it, but now that all three are out there, you can probably find it right there on YouTube. It's well worth the watch. Excuse me. And very interesting, but it is brought in. My friend Jim Mitchell is in it, and he brings up that Dixie didn't know anything about the wrestling business, and that she got worked by Master Carney's, and everybody kind of to a person says Scott Steiner is in it, and man, does he come off really well. When you think of Scott Steiner, what do you think of? You think of he's crazy. Yeah, but I'm going to the comments here. Scotty Wentz says Jeff used the Memphis method to book his champions. It worked the same way there as it did in Memphis. And then Thomas says the NWA belt was a prop. They're all props. They're all belts, all titles, all championships are props. Right? I mean, that's anybody who knows what this thing is knows that it's a prop. Thomas says it's all on YouTube. Yeah, I thought it was pretty much all. They had pretty much put it all up there. When you having to put down $25,000 for it, yeah. I mean, it again. I found it. I got stuck on the whole 17,000 days or whatever it was. I just got hung up on that, and the reason being, they said in the thing that he didn't trust anybody else. He trusted himself most, and that's to me that's carnyism. But then when they brought in Dixie, and they all pretty much crapped all over Dixie. I think it would have been interesting to have her in. Mike Tenay, he wasn't in there. I think Borash. I don't think Borash was in it. But all those guys could have had I'm sure. But Russo, look, man, bro, come on, bro. NWA was nothing at that point. No money in it for 2002. But Vince Russo, is anybody else sick of Vince Russo? It's the same story in every documentary he appears in. It's everybody else's fault but his. And honestly, what have you done since you were Vic Venom? He takes credit for all the Attitude Era. Takes credit for not killing WCW, which, if he didn't kill it, by God, he was holding a gun that fired a shot. But it's enough with the constantly blaming everybody for everything and not taking 1 ounce of responsibility for anything. Bro. Yeah, but what, didn't Borash work for TNA at one point? Did Borash, maybe I'm wrong in that, and I'm not a I don't have my doctorate in this thing, although I should by this point. I didn't know. I thought at one point Borash was in TNA. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. Yeah, Russo is just too much, and it's the constant just crapping on everything, but never taking any responsibility for anything. And I just, bro. It's enough. It's enough with Russo. Cornette always comes off great. I mean, he just tells it like it is. Scotty Wentz says Vince is the worst. However, Bischoff made me agree with Russo over how Bischoff and Hogan effed up TNA. Yeah, I will say. So Scotty says Borash was an announcer and producer for TNA, if I'm not mistaken, in that correct. So I see what you're saying now, Thomas. Thomas is saying that he couldn't appear on it because he was currently working for the WWE. Okay, I got it. I'm tracking now. I'm slow. What do you want from me? I gave you an hour last night of gold. So today I'm on silver level, all right? Give me a break. But I'm tracking. Yeah, the Hogan and Bischoff thing, I mean, Hogan coming in, and I kind of understand where Dixie would have thought, okay, this is going to be a turning point. Now, if Jeff's story is true that they brought him to the meeting just to facilitate the meeting between Hogan and Bischoff and her, that was kind of crappy of her to do, and then just send him back home. But you know, the whole changing the 6-sided ring, which I could care less about the ring. I know that was a big deal to the hardcores, but different things like that. And then, of course, the way Hogan left. Clearly there was some thought behind that. She agreed to do it. The whole dragging Hogan him dragging her as she's holding onto his leg, begging him not to go when he quit the company or whatever. She agreed to do it. So it would have been good, and I'm sure she has her reasons for not being a part of it. I'm wondering now, though, after having watched it, and I'm sure she watched it too, if she's regretting that decision of not doing it, and if she may start to appear on some programs to tell her side, because clearly they gave it to her and they gave her a lot of the blame, for what happened out there. Again, they did tell a couple of side stories. The Jeff Hardy thing, they told that. I don't know, and Thomas can correct me here on this. I don't know that Jeff had ever spoken about that publicly. I had never heard about him speak of it publicly before. But he came off remarkably well. He was very honest. He was clearly not in any character. He was just telling, look, I was at my lowest point, and I didn't even know what world I was in. He goes in to talk about Jeff's subsequent problems. But he was remarkably honest about it. Matt and Jeff both came off very honest. Matt, I will say, is a good politician. Matt did not take anybody's side. Matt's like, hey, man, I think everybody did a good job. which I was like, there you go, kid. There you go. Smart. You're smart. He's been around long enough to know, you're not going to take sides because you never know what the curve's going to bring around the corner, right? So good on Matt Hardy for kind of riding that middle lane there, which I appreciated. I appreciated him. They both came across really well and did really well. But Jeff I felt like was remarkably honest and candid, and there's a lot to be said for that. So good stuff. But all in all, it was good. It is a good capsule of a moment in time. But I do feel like some things probably could have been explored a little bit more in depth. But it is good that Jeff is happy now. Karen, his wife, Karen Angle, Karen Jarrett, was remarkably candid as well. She's held up well, although clearly she's had work, but she still looks great. And I felt like she was honest in what she was telling. It would have been nice to hear from Kurt, right? Don't you think so? That Kurt would have been a really good addition. I don't know what I don't even know what he's doing now. Thomas says that Jeff hadn't spoke about it publicly before, and that he talked about it in a couple of interviews, but not on the video. And Matt has always been like that, especially in public. Yeah, he was. You could tell Matt was being very politically correct, but I got it. I understood why, right? I'm like, yeah, I get that. I get it. He just he didn't crap on anybody. He was just like, I thought Dixie did a good job. And I just got a kick out of that. I was like, okay, I get it. I get it, kid. I completely get it. We're live right now on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Rumble, and Kick. Just talking about the TNA Dark Side of the Ring 3-hour broadcast. It is currently up on YouTube. If you missed it or missed any part of it, go check that out. It is worth a watch. Scotty Wentz says he wanted to hear more from Awesome Kong. She sounds like a riot to hang out with. She was now. The only thing that I didn't understand about her was why she didn't tell her little side story. I don't guess it really mattered. I mean, she kind of quit in the middle of the ring, and then it came later that she was pregnant or whatever. It was just, kind of surprising that they didn't even touch that. And did that happen? No, maybe that happened in the WWE. Again, how my mind it's cloudy sometimes. Maybe that was in the WWE where she quit because she was pregnant. I can't remember. Kurt has a WWE Legends deal. So Kurt's got a Legends deal with WWE. Maybe that precluded him from participating. But how great would it have been to have him tell his side of it? Because no matter what Karen and Jeff say, there's still going to be people who believe that whole thing was a shoot. That Jeff took Kurt's wife, and they still believe it. And Jeff says even in the documentary, Jeff even says people still to this day ask him, "Are you and Kurt good?" And so it would have been nice to maybe have Kurt come in and put an exclamation point on that end of it as well. I don't know how you get around. Matt made a lot of money off of Dixie. He never criticizes the ATM. That's smart business. Thomas Simpson with that comment. That's smart business. And like I said, he did well. He came across really well. He didn't. If you know. But I think if the lay fan would appreciate. Yeah, I thought that may be right. Scotty Kong did that on Raw. You're right. She did that on the Raw program where she quit. This stuff runs together after a while, especially at my advanced age. Sometimes it all runs together. But anyway, good stuff. It's worth a watch. Again, some things could have been a little bit better clarified. Some things could have been. We could have had some other people in there to fill out. As a great broadcaster once said, the rest of the story. That Paul Harvey said that, and that tells you how old I am. But it is also an interesting side note, and you may or may not know this, but on the day that the first episode dropped, Vince Russo released his book, Total Nonstop Agony. I'm sorry, he did that on the 14th. Monday of this week, he released his book, Total Nonstop Agony, where he tells his complete story in book form about the TNA years. And I know you may or may not have known that. I don't even know how I come across that tidbit of information. It may have hit my stream at some point. But Vince Russo released his book, Total Nonstop Agony. And if you're interested in Vince Russo and you like his form of revisionist history, then you go buy it and tell me what it says, because I ain't buying that. I ain't giving Vince another dime. Regalwood Rasslin, episode 16. Coming up next on the program will be the big interview with Ken Magnum, Loaded Gunz Ken Magnum. He's going to tell you all about his career, all about his journey, his family, his faith. He's going to... it's a rather interesting video. He does break a little news in it, so you want to stick around for that part of it. About an hour's worth of conversation with Ken. Well worth the watch. And if you don't catch it here live, it will be up on the YouTube channel, Wrestle Radio 860. Wrestle Radio 860 on YouTube. And that'll be going up immediately following this live broadcast. Thomas says he's sure reading that would be agony. Yeah, that's kind of a bad title. You're putting agony in your title of your book there. But what are you gonna do? All right. One other thing I want to touch on before we get out of here. Are any of you familiar with this Mystery Wrestling? That's the name of it, Mystery Wrestling. It's a company out of Canada, I think. And I wanted to crap on it. I wanted to hate it. They do Invisible Man matches. They do wrestling with broomstick matches. And normally I would hate that. Normally I would have nothing good to say about that. But mystery wrestling has found its niche and does this thing in an interesting and entertaining way. There's a clip I'm going to show you, not today, but in the future when we talk more. I want to do a deep dive in this mystery wrestling. And I've reached out. They clearly are a mystery because I've reached out several places in several different ways to get somebody from this organization to contact me back, and I have received nothing from anyone. But it's on Facebook. Look up Mystery Wrestling, spelled just like you think, Mystery, M-Y-S-T-E-R-Y Wrestling. It is. There's a clip I want to show you when we do a discussion about it, where a guy is he's an escaped convict is the guy's gimmick, right? And it's hilarious because his whole deal is to escape. So he'll get in, do a little bit of an opening with the match, and then when the guards, right, he comes in with guards and the belly chains and the whole nine, and when the guards get distracted or look the other way, he escapes out the back door, and they're chasing him. They're chasing him down the street, and the camera's following him, and it's like, oh, the convict has escaped again, as though this is an ongoing thing. Like nobody learned not to not watch the convict. It is hilarious. It is entertaining, and I want to know more about mystery wrestling. So I'm going to be trying to I'm going to keep trying to reach out to somebody to get me in contact with somebody from mystery wrestling, because it is insanely entertaining, and I would like to talk more about it and to understand how this even became a thing. Because every match is a gimmick match, but it's done tongue in cheek, so they know it's silly, but they're doing it all. The presentation, I can't explain to you the presentation. Whoever did this has got it figured out. If you want to do a comedy show, they're doing it right. And just wanted to give them a little quick shout. All right, Wanda's getting nervous. She wants the interview. Wanda is the most impatient fan of this program there ever was in the world, because she did the same thing when I had on. I think it was Che. Who was it? She kept screaming. I think it was Thomas. Last time I had Thomas on, she wanted to know. Where the interview was, so she's screaming at me over in the YouTube chat. It's coming up, Wanda. Settle down. Scotty Wentz says, "Dear Lord, I hope no one shows Cornette. He'll truly would die from a stroke." You know what? I think Cornette, being as smart as he is, he may actually get this, because it is done in such a way that it I would normally hate it, but I've watched enough of it to realize that they're doing this. The presentation is done tongue in cheek, and it is not sold as a legitimate. This is a contest where you're wrestling the Invisible Man. There's a reason that they're doing all this stuff. I'll tell you this before we go to the interview. They did I want to say a 72-hour. Hi, Missy. Missy Childers joining the chat room over there on Facebook. Hi, Missy. Appreciate you joining us today. I want to say it was 70. I'll have to check it. I think it was a 72-hour nonstop battle royal that they did, and I think it was for some charity or whatever. And every gimmick that they could think of. I think they did Ernie versus Bert. It was insanity. It is insanity. But it is insanely entertaining. So look up Mystery Wrestling. We'll talk about it again in the future here on the show. I really do want to get somebody from that organization on to talk with me about it. Mystery Wrestling on Facebook. Check it out and let me know your thoughts. All right, quick break. Super quick break. Gonna dip out of here, get the interview pulled up. And we'll talk to Ken Magnum. Like I said, it's about an hour long. We'll come back after the interview and do the most ridiculous item of the week. And boy, do we have one for you this week. Holy cow. You're going to love this one. So that's all coming up right here after the jump on episode 16 of Regalwood Rasslin. And we are currently live. YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Rumble, and Kick. YouTube is Wrestle Radio 860. Twitch, Regalwood 6969. Facebook, of course, Ricky Regal, R-I-K-K-I. R-E-G-A-L, Rumble and Kick, or Regalwood. If you see this guy, you're in the right spot. All right, we'll be right back with our big interview with Ken Magnum, and then we'll finish up the show with our most ridiculous, and all that's coming up next, right here on episode 16. 16. Can you believe it? of Regalwood Rasslin. Stand by. Short break. All right, back here on Regalwood Rasslin. Big show today, lots of doings. Going to bring in our guest now. He's been around a long time. He's done a lot in this business. He's very well respected. We met some years ago. We've talked a couple of times. We've worked on some shows together in the past, and it's just a thrill to have him on today, man. It's Ken's gone through a lot over his career, and I hope to touch on a good bit of that today. Some of the more interesting stuff is happening right now. He's currently working in some shows with his son, which I'm sure he's thrilled about, and I really want to talk about that. And his history and all the normal stuff we do here at the big program. But now, without me further blathering on, let me bring into the program right now my special guest today, the one and only Loaded Gunz, Ken Magnum. Ken, welcome to the show.
Ricky, thank you for having me. Appreciate it very much.
No, man, listen, thank you for coming on. It's a big deal to have you on here, and I really appreciate you doing it. You got a lot going on, man. I mean, I follow your career, you know, from like I do everybody, kind of from a distance, because I don't get out as much as I used to. But the main thing that impresses me, Ken, man, is you're always out there, bro. You're still constantly just pushing, and I respect that. I want to talk some about it a little bit further, but before we get into all of that, of course, we got to go back before we go forward. For anybody who may not know, and I can't believe there's anybody who does, but tell people who Loaded Gunz Ken Magnum is.
Oh man, I mean, 22 years doing this crazy business we call professional wrestling. I mean, I've what I call ebb and flow throughout the years. So, I mean, I just pride myself on obviously professionalism. I do not show up at a show that I do not want to be the best on that show. Am I the best night in and night out? I'm not going to sit here and toot my own horn and blow smoke up my own tail and tell you that I am. But the goal when I show up is to be that guy. No matter what show I'm on, no matter if it's 50 people or 1,500 people. I just always show up, and I'm going to give you the very best that I can each and every time out. And again, like you said in the opening, man, it's been a wild ride. Had a lot of experiences, both good and bad, over the years. Got to know everybody that is anybody in the Carolinas. Some I wished I could forget, but you can't.
Ain't that the truth?
Yes, sir. But yeah, man, I mean, that's just me in a nutshell. I just take pride in what I do, and that's regardless of whether that's professional wrestling, of course, my shoot job, or being a husband, being a dad, you know, whatever I'm going to apply myself to, the good Lord gives me the grace to do, I'm going to give everything I have.
How did you get in, Ken? What was it? Were you always a fan? I mean, had you like grown up like most of us did, kind of watching it and loving it, or what was your entrance into wrestling?
Absolutely. So after church one Sunday morning, we're talking probably 87, 88. I'll never forget the first match I ever saw. It was Sting and Lex Luger as a tag team against Ron Simmons and Butch Reed when they were Doom. And so that was the first match I ever saw. Kind of drew me in there. And then going to mark out here as soon as I seen, you know, Mark Calloway and the Undertaker gimmick debut. Man, I was hooked, and a WWF guy through and through ever since. That's kind of where my passion started. And then long story short, we'll fast forward. So when I was 18, I actually started training. And so you got to understand something about me. I am an only child. So a lot of people are going to say stereotypically that I was spoiled, right?
Yeah.
So, but being an only child, I still wanted to do this. And we had been down to Greer, and I'll be honest, the name of the promotion now escapes me. But Jim Lewis, you talked about it on several of your shows recently.
Yep.
Jim Lewis's promotion, Blake Arledge, Adam Jackson, and myself, and another host of friends we'd always carpool and jump in the cars on Tuesday nights and come down and catch those shows. And then we, of course, started networking a little bit with Shotgun Shane Sawyer at the time. And then when I turned 18, man, I was the oldest of the lot, except for Blake. And, man, I wanted to start training. So I did. Trained for about 6 weeks at 18 years of age. Unbeknownst to me, my folks tailed me down after church one Sunday afternoon. And I had no idea, finished training, got back home. Again, we're 6 weeks in, and my dad basically sat me down and said, hey, know what you're doing. I think it's stupid. I think you're going to mess around and get hurt. And you can keep doing that stupidity, as he put it at the time. You can keep doing that stupidity and get out and find a new place to live, or you can stay here as long as you need to and continue to work. And I was in college at the time as well. So, I mean, man, I ain't gonna lie, it scared me to death.
Yeah.
So I had to take a step back, and it took me until I was 22 to get back in. And then that's when we started going to American Pro Wrestling, of course, when they were at the Whitney Road location, and connected with Jay Eagle there. And he actually had Gary, or Viper, who wound up promoting HBW, as his trainer at that time. And then Gary bought his ring, and we started training in January of 2004. And then Adam and I debuted as the tag team, the Underground, at that time in March of 2004. So after about 8 to 10 weeks, we debuted. Yeah.
That's a quick run through, man. But I tell you, I asked Nikita when I had him on, you know, what did he attribute to his so quickly picking it up and so quickly going to the push? And I'll ask you the same question. I mean, you have all the natural talent and abilities, of course. I mean, you have all the tools. But what do you attribute that, man, to getting out there and coming up so quickly and doing your debut from that kind of humble beginning there?
Well, I mean, again, coming in, and at the time, there was a very, very solid core in that American Pro locker room.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give a lot of credit here. The Boomer Paynes, Shane Austin, Sonny Landale, of course, Chief Jay Eagle, Nick Fury, all of those guys really just took Adam and I in and continued to develop us even after Gary had showed us the basics and got our foot in the door. And so really just attacking it again from a stage of humility, or from a point of humility, and just trying to be a sponge and learn. I will say, you know, what they say about the guy playing golf behind you, he always plays better, right? Because he sees the mistakes and where not to hit the ball. Yep. So hindsight being 2020, and granted there wasn't a plethora of places to work at that time like there is now. Yeah. But I just wish that more early on we would have branched out more and gotten more experience once we cut our teeth, so to speak. Just really wish we'd have branched out a little more at the time. But, you know, it took several years. But, once we got going, and then, Adam had to take a step back from the business. And then I shifted to singles. And, man, from there, I mean, the sky was the limit at that time in my mind. So I was going for the gusto. Anywhere I could be, I wanted to be.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's important. You're right. It is important to get out there and move around and kind of work with different people and different organizations. I want to talk a little bit about Viper. Gary I didn't know him previous to the HPW thing, and I'm honest with you, I didn't go to APW that much. I don't remember exactly how I found out about Gary, but I will tell you this: when I started going up there, Cruiser and I would go together. David Cody would go with us. We had a lot of fun up there, man. That thing it had all the potential, and I just wonder whatever happened, because it seems like it was on the right track there for a while, and then all of a sudden it was gone. You know what I mean? What was your thoughts on that back then?
Well, I mean, some of that was obviously the first building. You know, I'll be honest, I'll tell something that not a lot of people know. I actually fronted the deposit on the first building that Gary ever ran. and to get HVW up and going. So again, got to look at it. I mean, I was still living at home at the time. I came through school, had a really good job. So I had an opportunity to bless somebody. Didn't really look at it through that lens then, but it was another opportunity, gave us another Friday night place to work, right? Because we were working at Chiefs on Saturday. So it's like, why wouldn't we want to gain more experience? And there was an opportunity for a little building there. And we kind of got it, kicked off. And then a drunk fan showed up one night, and I'll never forget it, pushed Stony Hooker's little sister down. And Miss Tracy will confirm this story. Pushed Crystal Hooker in the floor. And of course, my wife and I were really good friends with Tracy and Stony and the entire family. Yeah. And I took offense to it. And me and this drunk black guy, bless his heart, I mean, we went nose to nose. And I dared him to cross the line. And of course, he didn't and got escorted out. But in the melee, the cops got called. And then as part of the cops getting called and questions being asked and everything, the building inspector showed up the next week, got the information, called Gary, and actually wound up shutting that building down, condemning the facility.
Wow. Is that the one that had the 2 stories? Were you dressed
No,
upstairs?
sir. No. That was the first little shack that HVW. I say the little shack. It was just a little 1-story barn type building right beside Wendy's on Asheville Highway. But the 2-story garage was actually, I mean, man, it probably wasn't 1,000 feet from that original building. It was just down Asheville Highway and back to the left out there on the corner. That was to me between that building and then the one up off of right there in Arden. Right there off the Highway 25, man, between those 2 buildings, that was when, it was at its peak. And Gary tried different things. Look, I mean, he was innovative, for the time. Certainly. I mean, he was taking, of course, what he saw on TV and just trying to apply it. I mean, he always took pride in production value. As far as creativity goes, he was putting, extra money, extra time into the buildings, the backdrops, the lights, the ropes, the ring. I mean, he was custom building stuff and fabricating stuff to make that product better constantly and consistently for years. And I mean, I still think Gary gets a bad rap about, certain things and aspects of how he handled things. But man, we've all got skeletons in the closet. We've all got our past. Yeah. And, he's grown, he's matured, and he's moved on from it. And so I don't hold anything against him whatsoever.
Yeah. I was there, I guess, between the 3 buildings. I was there in the middle where they had that 2-story thing, and it had a good crowd, had a very passionate crowd, and it was I had gotten out a lot before that, a long time before that, because it just wasn't fun anymore. And we're going up there, I guess, riding with Cruiser and all that stuff. It was fun. And it was a lot of fun going up there and performing with and in front of that crowd. I remember that's where I met you, or that's where I met our friend Randy Wayne. I met him up there, and Big Z and all those guys, and it really was just a fun time. What's Gary doing now?
So he's remarried and bought a new home, and I mean, he's still working, in I'll be honest, I know he's still doing something in like the fabrication kind of industry. Yeah. But I mean, he and I stay in touch, make sure, reach out and just stay in touch and make sure everything's good. And he does the same for me. So, we keep that, we probably talk once or twice a month, just checking on one another.
That's cool. Well, when you talk to him, tell him I said hello, because it's been I don't even think he has a Facebook presence anymore, does he?
He does. It's Gary Benfield. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Not as not the wrestling persona, but on a personal level, he does. Yes, sir.
Is he done with wrestling?
Well, I mean, you know what they say, never say never.
He said the truth.
He does still have. He has, like all of us. And I think there's. I think you'll admit this too. There's this pit in your stomach that, it's always going to be there, no matter which direction your life goes, always going to be drawn to it in some capacity. And that's him. Would he like to run again? I'm sure he would. Would he like to be involved again? I'm absolutely sure he would. I know he was helping with our Wrestling Evolution. Mm-hmm. Tim's promotion out of Denver, North Carolina. He was helping as far as ring setup and breakdown there at its infancy and its beginnings. And that was actually one of the last times I saw him when I did a show for them here a couple of years back.
Well, it's just interesting because, like I said, it was a fun time up there, and it was I remember working were you on the show when he brought Abyss in? Were you on that show? Now that was it. He did that like a spot show outside of the normal arena.
Now, who was it he brought in again?
He brought in Abyss from TNA.
Abyss? No, sir. I was not. I was not. Yeah, I was working solely, I think, pretty much with CWA at that time. Gotcha. And so, yeah, I wasn't a part of that card, but was fortunate enough to be on the card, working 6-man with Shannon Moore in that building.
Yeah.
Of course, Thomas, not to bring that up, but Thomas ran his AWA affiliate out of there at the time.
That's right.
For a little while.
I forgot all about that. I had forgotten all about that. Yeah, sure did.
Yeah, and was I call classic fitting or retrofitting it because, we all had, 70s, 80s classic rock theme songs and a little bit of a twist to our personas and everything. We're shooting it more like an old school studio show kind of TV thing.
That's awesome. What's some of the organizations that you really have enjoyed working with the most? I mean, we talked a little bit about Gary. Who else have you really enjoyed working for or working with?
I'll be honest, Champions with Attitudes, and promoted by Roger Gleaton. I think that was, I'll say, the pinnacle for me. Obviously, besides doing, being fortunate enough between 2009 and 2011, doing, several. I actually did 8 extra spots and appearances at WWE. So that was obviously a blessing. But working with that locker room down there for Roger and CWA, being around guys like Timber, Lodi, of course, Michael Judas, which you probably remember him as Michael Adrian, right?
Yeah, Michael Adrian, Judas, all the incarnations.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So, working those shows and what I was able to do there is a point of pride for me because, again, at the time, that was the hottest show in the Carolinas, and that's where I wanted to be. And, went through the whole quote-unquote dark match process because they were doing closed circuit Time Warner TV in Columbia at the time. And, remember doing a dark match against Crucifix in Blackville. And they only had one spot open. And luckily, I played the heel that night, and they needed a heel, so that's what they got. And I was their curtain jerk heel for 18 straight months, and I lost every single month for 18 straight months. And went out and did my job. And then month 19, I had a shot with Lodi for the CWA title at the time, and went out to the ring. Full intentions of eating his DDT and taking a 3 count. And they all pulled a rib on me, and he put me over and called it on the fly and held me tight and said, "Congratulations, kid, you earned it."
Wow.
And man, I mean, it was a moment for me for sure. I'll never ever forget it. And then the opportunities that Roger gave me after that were always mean a lot to me. I did a best of 3 series with Shelton Benjamin right when he came out from under contract, 2009, 2010, 2011. Did those matches. Those are, a point of pride for me, something I'm very proud of in my career. And then, just again, blessed and fortunate, Jerry or Jay Eagle, took me places, did shows with him at different places and got to work with guys. And of course, the names and folks that 3 Count has brought in over the years. HBW, CWA, of course, American Pro, that's always going to have a soft spot. I mean, man, I'll be honest with you, Ricky, I've had a blast everywhere I have been. My time at NCW, I've made lifelong friends there, guys like Michael Madden, guys like Hoss, coming through that time frame. Again, Norton and I got to really know each other at that time. Think about him, miss him often. Yep. Especially doing, the shows with Jimmy and AWL. I mean, every show offers a little something different. So I really just try to go in and, again, have the best match on the card. Otherwise, I don't need to show up.
Yeah.
Right. So, right. I mean, I just want to go in and now it's a whole different thing. When I was greener than grass, coming up, it's like, okay, I got to learn from these guys, and I still want to have the best match I can. Well, then when I hit my prime, which I'll say between after about 5 years in, this is just me talking about me, right?
Yeah.
So between 2009 and then 2015, I would say those are my prime years. And then, so, I'm running around the Carolinas and one of the young bucks and getting all these shots and opportunities. And that's wonderful. Well, now that I've hit 45 years old and I'm still trying to obviously stay in shape and still do this thing, now I've got a whole other reason to have fun, right? Because there's a whole new group of young talent that's coming in and that's making waves in this business and doing things. And, I've had the opportunity to work with Jakari Ball. I've had the opportunity to wrestle Chase Emery on numerous occasions. Obviously, my son debuted last year, like you mentioned earlier. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But, there's just a plethora of guys. I've been in the ring with the Allen brothers who are making a lot of noise on the tag team scene. It's really a challenge just to see, hey, can I still hold up in this crazy world?
Yeah, and you are. I mean, clearly you're still out there doing it. I mean, it's amazing to me that, and I mentioned it when I was bringing you in, just the fact that you're constantly out there doing something, you're promoting stuff. I mean, you're promoting yourself, and that's the one thing, man, that I've said it on this very show before. I've said it on the old program. I don't understand some of the guys who want everything but they don't do a lot to get it, if that makes sense. And by that I mean just booking guests for this program. And I've said it before. If I was an up and coming guy, or even at where I am now, if I knew there was a weekly show that had an open door policy to come on in here and do that, I'd be worried them to death. Like, hey, let me in there. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth. What's some advice you would give some upcoming guys about getting themselves over and pushing themselves, because you're a master at it? I mean, there's something daily that you're putting out on your pages about what you got coming up. What would be some advice you would give some new guys about getting yourself over?
I mean, I would just say take the time to invest in your product and never, ever forget why you're in, because nobody ever got into professional wrestling on happenstance. Right. You got into it because you loved it and you had a deep desire that you wanted to be a part of it. Well, don't forget that perspective. And that's what so many forget, especially this young crop of guys that's coming in now, in my opinion. Yeah. Take some time, invest in yourself, invest in your gear, in your persona. Obviously, go to training, work on things, get yourself out there, but also promote yourself as a professional.
Absolutely.
There's a reason why this is called professional wrestling. And that's what really, it really gripes me now when I see guys that, don't put in the work. Yeah. And like I heard, listen to your podcast. It's been several weeks ago, and I cannot remember exactly who it was, so you'll have to forgive me. But you guys were talking about the fact is pro wrestling for everyone.
Yeah.
And the fact is, and it keeps circulating out there, I see it on Facebook almost weekly, is pro wrestling for everyone as far as getting in the business. Yeah. It seems to be leaning that way, but it shouldn't be.
Absolutely.
But there again, from a fan's perspective, not everybody likes chocolate ice cream. Not everybody likes vanilla. Not everybody likes strawberry. Yeah. There are so many different flavors now, and there's a little bit of something for everybody.
Sure.
But if you're not going to invest in yourself, my whole point is, again, I ask myself, and I've done this for 22 years, when I come out of the ring, of course, my wife is my first critic that I go to.
Yeah.
Would you have paid our money that we worked hard for this week, 7 to 5, Monday through Friday, whatever you're doing for a job, would you have paid your hard-earned money to see the product that I put out there tonight? Yeah. If the answer is no, I got to go back to the drawing board. Right. I still do that every single show. I'm seeking feedback, regardless of what I hear from the fans. And I'll make her be honest with me. Sometimes, we've been married 22 years or 20 years. So she, I'll tease her about not being honest with me. I'll be like, I know that was crap. Yeah. Yeah. But she's my first critic. And then I look at it again from the fans' perspective. Okay, what could I have done differently? Well, I should have done this or should have done that. I apply the same logic to my son. When he asks for reviews on his matches, he'll be the first to tell you if you talk to him. I'm not afraid to hurt his feelings when it comes to constructive criticism to make him better. Yeah. Because, it's got to happen. And so many of these guys, Now they don't want to accept that, and they don't want to take that. And then you have the other side of the coin. I mean, I've been in the ring with somebody recently. Of course, I'll leave this out there just as a tease, since we're on a podcast here that likes to stir the pot sometimes.
No,
surely not. I worked with a guy very recently, actually, that takes himself and in this locker room situation took himself way too serious.
Yeah,
way too serious. And it was just like, okay, wow. Like the audience responded exactly how they were supposed to in the moment. And I'm just thinking, dude, like, if a contract would have been on the line at the moment, now, was it the best match I've ever had? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. And it was a tag team match. So there's four dance partners out there.
Sure.
So everybody, if everybody's not dancing to the beat of the same music,
right,
it can get a little squirrely, right?
Absolutely.
So, but at the end of the day, we pulled off the finish and the crowd popped. End of story.
Yeah.
If the crowd reacts at the finish, you have them. That's all I need to know. We can critique everything later, but just slow down, take a breath, man. Trust me, it wouldn't have main event at SummerSlam.
That's right. Well, I'll tell you, and the thing of it is, and then I'm glad you said that, Ken, because it's true. The key, I think, to asking further the feedback and further the input and even some criticism would be the acceptance of it. And I think you've been around a long time too, and I think you probably have seen that a lot of guys want you to tell them how great they are. Right, but when you give them a little bit of that constructive criticism, all of a sudden, well, who are you? What have you ever done? That type of thing. You know what I mean? And if you can't put that ego aside, have your ego outside the curtain, but when you come back through the curtain, drop that ego and take whatever constructive criticism there is, because a guy like you, been around 22 years, they should listen to you. And that's why I stopped giving reviews. People would hit me up on, and this has been some years ago, people would send me messages on, Messenger or whatever. Hey, what you think about, or watch this match and what you think about it. And I just got to the point where I was like, I don't do that anymore, because you don't want to hear what I got to say if it's not exactly what you want to hear. You know what I mean? So there's, I don't know how it's good to ask for it, but you have to be willing to accept what comes when you do, I guess is my point.
Sure. No, I agree 1,000%. And guys, I'll be honest, not a lot of guys ask anymore. I mean, there are a handful on every show that will ask, but then the majority don't, because they're either in their own head or got somebody else. And I mean, I'm just looking at it, and I've got a unique perspective. I mean, maybe it's unique. I think it is perspective on that. I look at every locker room as the same.
Yeah.
And I give somebody this speech not long ago. We are all on the same card.
Yep.
We're on the same poster. We're in the same ring in front of the same audience. So are there different levels of talent? Are there different levels of experience? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're all on the same level right there. Yeah. We're all playing for the same team that night, because we're all getting envelopes handed to us from the same person. Right? So why are we acting like we're on different teams? I understand we're quote unquote independent contractors out there, but at the end of the day, we're all on the same team, man. And if you're AWL, you need to be an AWL guy that night. Yeah. If you're at CCW, you need to be a CCW guy that night. Explosive Pro in Bowling Springs, Palmetto Championship in Columbia, wherever you're at. Play for that team and give it your best, and stop acting like, that's one thing that, sorry to get off on a tangent here, but that's one thing that's bugged me over the years. And I feel like it's cost me opportunities to get in front of some other crowds and work for some other promotions, is the fact that we label, or we allow those within the industry to label us as such and such guy, because at first, obviously, I was a Jay Eagle guy. And then, obviously, in my prime, I was a Roger Gleaton guy. So if you had any heat with Roger Gleaton or CWA, you wouldn't book it, Ken Magnum. Yeah. And that's fine. Again, everybody's opinion. I'm not for everybody. I get it. If I was a promoter and I had my number one heel, I certainly wouldn't want to bring in this guy that I know is going to embarrass my number one guy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, why would I? And I mean, that may sound, I hope that doesn't sound overly arrogant or egotistical, but I mean, I know for a fact that's why some promoters haven't brought me in. They've got their guy and they think he's the best thing since sliced bread. Well, if somebody's out there that's better, I'm not going to bring you in and shut my guy down.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm like, okay, so I don't get my feelings hurt about it. It's just, it is what it is, you know?
Yeah. You would think though that they would want to bring that that next level guy in though to bring the best out of their guy. You know what I mean? If I put you in the ring and I know your abilities and your skill set against my guy and I know his, that should be money, right? But I think I think ego comes into play where I don't want you upstaging my guy or whatever the case may be.
1,000%. And that's where, in my opinion, promoters have failed over the years is, yes, putting aside that ego. I mean, think about it this way. And I know you've probably had these conversations before or thought about it yourself through your history in the business. How awesome would it have been to localize or centralize territories again in the Carolinas? So you think about it you think about it from Cherokee to Wilmington, to Charleston and Florence and Augusta, and all the way back up to the upstate and into Hendersonville, Asheville. I mean, if you've got a promotion every hour and a half to 2 hours away, and you know, in space and distance, and some are running Fridays, some are running Saturdays, but then you run a storyline there. And then, you know, whatever the gimmick is, right? Loser leaves town, loss of a championship, so I got to leave, recollect myself. But I'm going to go down here. But these people down here say, oh, my God, this guy just showed up. He's been at that promotion over in Cherokee, and he was the man up there. Business just picked up down here.
Right.
But they can't put themselves aside long enough to try to connect and work together. And that's why I'm going to throw out some praise for Bob Keller right now. I mean, I've never been a quote unquote out there killer guy. But I mean, I tell Bob all the time, it's like, dude, you are Carolina's wrestling, because he is, for the most part, trying to unite some of these promotions and cross promote and co-promote. You know, he's doing a great job of that with Old School and Wrestle Force and Action Packed out of Chester. I mean, it's fun to see, and I wish more would jump on board.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I remember coming up, and again, a quick old man story, but I remember coming up, they about once every couple of months, every 6 months or so, these little locals down here, the SCWs, and there was a couple of them, CW, there was several of them down here back, and I'm going back to the late 80s, early 90s, and they would always get together, we're going to do this, we're going to come in, and we're going to all group together, and it would just never happen. And I don't know what to attribute to that, because I feel like, and you're right, it could be successful. And it could be just like when Ric Flair would leave, the Carolinas and go down to Georgia, and because he was the NWA champion, if you had that one unifying body, how would it look today? But then again, it gets into the question of, well, wrestling's evolved to the point now to where the territories are a thing in the past, and everybody's just trying to get their own pocketbook filled. So I would love to see that come back, Ken, but it would take a strong leader at top to make that happen. What do you think?
Oh, no, I mean, I agree. I mean, absolutely. I mean, there would have to be, and then, I mean, everybody's got a cause. Yeah. Now everybody's got their heel that they like to choose to go die on. So, I mean, who would even, I mean, look at how tumultuous the last two, really three presidential.
Oh, yeah.
You know, look at that whole, from the campaign to the term and everything, how tumultuous that has been. And we're going to boil that all the way down to independent wrestling in the Carolinas. And it would still be such a storm of emotions and outcry.
It would,
this person burned this bridge and this person did this, and God forbid, whatever.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
right.
It would be a mess, but we can dream, right?
Oh, yeah, and I think it could be something, because you do have some real smart promoters out there. I mean, you got, like you said, Bob Keller and several other ones that but again, I think it goes back again to ego. There's some folks who will not set their ego aside long enough to say, hey, we could be successful if we would just do this, because then you would have to say, well, I didn't have all the answers in the start, right? I mean, that's kind of what it would be.
Sure, yeah.
I wanted to touch back on something real quick, Ken. You brought it up a few minutes ago about when you went and did some dark stuff up for the WWE. That comes up a good bit, people doing that. But if you had to explain to an upcoming indie guy, let's say your son, for example, how would you give him the keys to that to do that? What would be some successful tools that you would need to be able to get yourself out there for a run, doing some dark stuff for the big federations?
Again, don't well, like Grandma used to say, right? Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right?
Yeah.
Again, self promote as many opportunities as you can. Not only at shows, physically at shows, performing on shows, but networking. I'm already pushing him and talking with some folks. Bob Keller, which being one, to help him get out there some more and network. He's hungry. He's in the gym. He's growing. He's wanting the experience. So, really just, again, get yourself out there.
Yeah.
And for God's sakes, work on your physique and work on your body. That's another thing that really drives me crazy. Some would argue that have known me over the last, 22 years, that I'm in just as good a shape now as I was, or even better shape now than I was when I'm in my 20s.
Yeah.
Because I take it serious, right? But it's not something I turn on and off. It's a part of my life, just as much as God and church and family. It's a priority that I balance. And get out there, because that's another thing that's really hurting the business right now. Again, it is a flavor that's really, really over right now, right? It's over on TV. It's over in Japan. AEW does it a lot. WWE has their bracket of talent that utilize this 200 pound and under. Mm-hmm. But, I have a hard time swallowing it, from a fan's perspective. Again, my heavyweight champion's 5'5" and $130.
Yeah.
And Rey Mysterio, he did it, world's biggest little man. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's been done, and that's just where the industry is, and I don't have to like it.
Right.
But, it is where it is, and I wish more promotions would and more bigger guys would try to find it, try to get into professional wrestling, because it just seems like the days of even, 230 pounds, 6'1", 6'2", and up.
Yeah.
It's just, now they're the novelty.
It's true, and you're right. And my thing, I've made the comment several times. If I can't suspend my disbelief as a fan just watching, if I can't look up at you and say this guy could beat me up in a fight, then why am I going to buy you as an actual threat to anybody, especially if you call yourself a heavyweight? You know what I mean? Because you and I came up in a time where the guys were larger than life. Your Hogans, your Giants, your Kevin Nash, all those guys, Scott Steiner, just giants. And now you got Danhausen. But to Danhausen's credit, which I love him, he's a gimmick, right? So you're right in that there's a place for that, but I think it should be within its own lane, and he knows he's a gimmick, right? So he's not going to be out there challenging the Obi Fima or whatever. So there's a place for it, but again, it goes back to the wrestling's for everybody. In its own lane, maybe, if that makes sense.
And again, when it's done and done correctly.
Yeah.
And I'll squeeze it back down low. I agree with you 1,000% on Danhausen. He entertains me every time. Every time he's in as Randy Savage used to say, every time he's in the video scope, man, I am laughing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, he entertains me. He really does.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
Locally here, I'll use 3 Count Pro and Jacob Armenchain, for example. I've been at 3 Count since the very first show that they ever booked. And through all of its iterations over the years, from traveling throughout, Liberty and Pickens County and into Greenville and up to Bowling Springs and all the spot shows and stuff they were doing through the years. And the loudest reaction that I have ever heard at an independent show was at the 2025 Pro 20 when Jacob Armenchain won the briefcase, but then immediately cashed in on Drew Adler coming out of a promo. I mean, I can't really explain it. I mean, it was the loudest response I've ever heard in a church gym or any indie show, I think, in my life.
Yeah.
And I've been in, I've been blessed. I've been in the ring with Shelton Benjamin in front of 1,000 people at the Armory in Orangeburg.
Right.
I've been in cage matches with Jay Batista in Orangeburg in front of 600 people, and did a show with Eagle up here in Gaffney. We did a 6-man. You don't know if you probably remember this. Big Time Wrestling ran Gaffney Middle School in 2005, and Dusty Rhodes and Terry Funk was the main event.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Still one of the most amazing things I've ever seen was what Terry Funk did that night. Mm-hmm. I can either tell that on air or off air, whichever you'd like, but still an amazing story that night. But there's 2,500 people up there because it was Matt Hardy's first appearance after the whole Adam Copeland Lita angle became reality, right? Right. And so there's 2,500 people there. And that did not compare any pop that night compared to what was in that building. Phenomenal. That was done right. Jacob worked his way through the ranks at 3 count, and he earned that spot, and the crowd responds to it. Yeah. So, I mean, that one was well done. Right. And I'm sure others around that I'm not as familiar with or invested in have been well done as well. I mean, I'm not sitting here trashing everything. Sure. But it's just a different flavor right now that I think, I think Jesse Alexander Carter, or Jack, I think he's the next one to look out for as far as, I don't know his goals and aspirations, but man, if he ain't got an ID classification within the next 12 months, I think it's a crime against the business. I mean, kids out there doing great things, and I've never even had the opportunity to meet him, but I really want to. Yeah. Just tell him, I'm just super stoked to see what he's going to do.
That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit more personally about you. Let's dig into Ken Magnum a little bit. I will give you a lot of respect because you do not get out there and I mean what you say I think with you is what you get, and you are pretty much very honest and open about your faith and your religion and your beliefs. And it isn't something that you, like you said, that you hide. It's something you embrace very publicly. Was there ever a point where you wondered if wrestling and faith simply could coexist, but with especially wrestling being what we know it's based on, right? And then your faith. How do you marry that juxtaposition?
Well, I mean, the Bible tells us to be a light in a dark world, right? And so, and some would argue that it don't get much darker than independent pro wrestling or pro wrestling industry as a whole. And let's face it, there's just as many bootleg guys out there, for lack of a better terminology, right? Yeah. That are doing it to make a buck. And I don't wear my faith on my sleeve to make a dollar. I'm sure it turns some folks off. And I'll be honest, I've came through some things in my life and darker periods in my life where, I didn't always, uphold my end of the bargain. Yeah. Being a Christian, I've had a mouth problem and a cursing problem in the past. Sure. And God's helped deliver me from that, and really has changed my life in the last, we're in rapidly approaching August. So we're 8 months into 2026. Yeah. And September of last year. So we're rapidly approaching 1 year that I say God has, changed gears. He's redlining me in some areas and really developing my life. And I haven't told anybody this except for a couple of people, but I'm enrolled in Bible college awesome. beginning in August. So congratulations, again, just excited about what God's doing. But I guess back to your question, how I balance it. Again, I'm just me. I show up at every show and I treat everybody the same. Regardless of whether I'm in the main event or the curtain jerk match, I treat everybody the same, regardless if you're in the main event or you're the curtain jerker, or whether you're the ring crew, the security guy, the referee. I don't care who you are. I'm going to treat you the same. I'm going to treat you with respect because ultimately, like I said earlier, we're all on the same team.
Right. Absolutely.
We're all on the same team.
We certainly should be. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've just been really big on treating people the way I want to be treated. I tell people that the first time I meet people, and I tell people all the time, like, I'm a golden rule kid. I will never, ever speak to you or treat you in a manner that I would not expect to be spoken to or treated in return.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, after you leave my presence, what you have to say about me behind closed doors or, on the internet or whatever, I mean, that's none of my business. I can't control that.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's easier said than done about not taking it personally.
Sure.
I mean, the first week that you brought back Regalwood Rasslin,
Yeah.
my name got dropped on your podcast. My
Yeah.
son's name got dropped on your podcast.
It did.
Couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was what it was, and God bless him. He's entitled to his opinion. This individual thinks that I should, go back to being just me. Well, it ain't just me anymore, and it was time to change it up. It was time to develop something a little bit different, add another layer to the presentation, and obviously, another leg of that too is having a great support system.
Yeah,
Ricky, I can't not praise my wife enough. I mean, and if I get emotional talking about it, I apologize. I met her at a professional wrestling event.
Right.
I met her. She had never been to a live professional wrestling show ever.
Yeah.
And then literally 6 months after I contemplated suicide in April of 2004, and I told God that night in April of 2004 after I'd had a motorcycle wreck, and he took everything from me. I couldn't wrestle. I couldn't work. I couldn't work out. I couldn't drive. I couldn't do anything for weeks after going over the handlebars of my sport bike at 70 miles an hour.
Oh, my God. And
I was in love with a girl that wasn't in love with me at the time. And, I mean, again, everything got taken from me. And in that moment, I just contemplated, I put a knife to my wrist.
Wow.
And then I wound up breaking down, and I told God that night, if you want me to have somebody, like I'm tired of it, like I'm tired of trying to do all these things. So what was I doing? I even told God, they say talk to God like he's your friend. I told him that night, I said, I've got a college degree. I've got a nice truck. Insurance is getting ready to buy me a new motorcycle. I work out 6 days a week. I even had abs. Thank God at that time. Yeah. I'm like, okay, what does a woman want, right?
Yeah.
But if you want me to have somebody, I quit. I give up. I'm not going to try anymore. You bless me enough to get me out of this. I'm going to work out. I'm going to wrestle. I'm going to work, and I'm just going to be me.
Yeah.
And September 18th of 2004, I could take you to the very spot in the building over on Whitney Road right now where my wife was sitting. And it was like in that moment, as soon as I seen her, I knew who she was.
Yeah.
And we have not been apart, 22 years.
Wow.
Since we have not been apart, and she has went every mile that I have been over the years. And it's even funny. I remember back when she was pregnant with the boys, fans would ask me, I'd get out of the ring and the fans would ask me, but like, you just wasn't yourself tonight. Was something wrong? Are you okay? Were you sick? And these are people that see me regularly. And I'll never forget, I was wrestling for RWA, Tom, and then we're running RWA at the time up in Marion. And Xanthi was pregnant. She had stayed at my parents' home in Lake Lure. And I was traveling by myself from Marion to Lake Lure. And it just hit me on the way back one night. My good luck charm, my number one critic and my best friend out there.
Yeah.
She wasn't with me. And I tell her, my performances are different. Reflecting on it and thinking about it, my performances are different when she's not there.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't I up the ante when she's ringside, man? So I mean, she keeps me relevant. So I just I can't praise her enough, man. She's been a blessing for 22 years, and just excited about what God's doing with her and what He's going to do with us in the future.
That's awesome, man. And that's another like when Randy Wayne came on, he gave his testimony, and I wasn't expecting it because I didn't know that story. And just as you just gave yours, I didn't know your story. So thank you for sharing that, man. It is inspiring that you can hit that level of I guess, that level of low, and then just open your heart and, hey, man, do with me what you will, and then how things can change. I think that's important, and thank you for sharing that. It is important to get that story out there, and the reason a lot of people don't see the reason, they just see the what you put out publicly. So to have that story behind it, I think is very important, and thank you for sharing that, Ken. That's big.
Absolutely. Again,
Yeah.
thank you for the platform and the opportunity. But I mean,
Absolutely.
I'll steal another line that I love from a movie. Like Rocky Balboa said, has my life been all sunshine and rainbows since? Absolutely not. I mean,
Yeah.
there have been some scary situations, obviously in the last 22 years,
Sure.
both personally and professionally.
Sure.
And I have to say, God's faithful. I mean, He's brought us through every one of them and sustained us through every one of them. I mean, we were talking to Lace earlier before we came on air,
Yeah.
and she was witness to one of them, and God bless her. She stayed with my boys and stayed with Xanthi before they let her back. In February, there was an accident at 3 count where, I had a 4-inch
Yeah.
gag in the back of my skull and wound up having to get stapled shut and
Yep.
knocked out cold in front of God and everybody and got hauled out in the back of an ambulance. So, I freaked everybody out that night. So,
Yeah.
laying in the floor, knocked out cold, but my eyes were open.
Oh,
And
my God.
Xanthi was screaming at me and I couldn't answer. Have no recollection of her trying to talk to me at the moment. But I gave everybody a good scare that night. But I'll give credit to Christopher Prince on this one. He pulled Xander aside and took him to the locker room, and he told him, he said, "Look, man," he's like, "your dad just wanted to make sure you never forgot tonight," because it was his 3 count debut, which he'd been waiting on, and we literally wasn't in the ring a minute and a half when this happened.
That did. And I'm glad you kind of segued into that, having your wife and son as part of your presentation. Now, did that give him pause? For that being his first step through the ropes, did that give him like, maybe I don't want to do this, or did it inspire him even more?
Absolutely not. It did not give him pause in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Of course, he was eminently concerned about me in the moment.
Right.
But obviously, when I came out of it and was at the doc, did my follow-up visit. So we spent 5 hours in Greenville Memorial that night. Got home probably maybe around 3 a.m. Pardon me.
Yep.
And had my follow-up with my primary care doctor the following Thursday to get my staples out, because I told him, I was like, "Look, we had a match on Saturday a week later." And it was for UCW down in Anderson. And, the shows that Ronnie Gossett will, run one and then cancel the next 6.
Just happened,
yeah. Pardon me. But, and it was an opportunity for Xander, right? Because Ronnie was putting us in the ring with Ricky and Kerry. So a father and son against a father and son, and I knew ultimately it was a great learning opportunity for Xander and myself. I mean, who can't learn from Ricky Morton, right?
Right.
So regardless of whether you worked him once or worked him 1,000 times, you're going to learn something.
Absolutely.
Because he's forgot more about professional wrestling than I'll ever know.
Right.
With that being said, so, I wasn't about to take that opportunity from him. Yeah. And the crazy thing was that night is everybody else was more concerned about me than me.
Yeah.
Kerry's like, "Oh yeah, we can do it, man. We won't even bump." I'm like, "Brother, bump me."
Yeah.
Even Bill Hazelwood called me that week, and he's like, "When are you going to learn to wrestle like you're 45 and not like you're 25?" I was like, "Bill, when I do that, brother, I retire." Because again, to steal one from the Undertaker, if I can't do it at the level that I think I can or should be able to do it, then it's time to call it quits. And I know I'm closer to the end than the beginning, but just still trying to do the best I can at it.
Yeah, and you are, and it's interesting you said that because Brody, when I had him on, I don't know if you watched his interview or not. But,
I did. Yes, sir.
But Brody, and God love Brody, man. He's always had that just a mind for this thing, and he said he was watching tape of himself, and he said I just looked a step slower, and he said that was it for me. And nobody loves this thing more than Brody Chase. You know that you from just being around him. But the thing about him is, Ken, is that he still has the deep passion for it from just talking to him. And we talked an hour before I even had him on the show.
Sure.
And he would you could just tell when he would get talking, the old Brody would come back, and he still had that fire. So I get, and you're right. You said it in the beginning. I mean, it's always going to be a part of us and always going to be in us. And it's just something that's hard to separate from. And knowing that, having said that, how are you kind of preparing your son for a future in this business? Because we know it's crazy. We know there's crazy stuff out there. There's a lot of temptations out there. What are some of the things that maybe some mistakes that you might have made that you're determined that he won't make in his career and his journey?
Well, again, not getting complacent, not being complacent. The first guy that says, "Hey, I'm gonna make you my champion," if you're going to camp out here for the next year, and then, you will lose it 13 months later. Well, that ain't necessarily doing yourself you're not giving yourself any opportunities to grow out there.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm encouraging him to do is, and even if it's challenging some promoters, and the way of not accepting, certain matches. Because ultimately, like I told him, and again, opinions are like, socks or backsides, right? We've all got them.
Y'all got them.
And most of them stink, right? But, and certain people believe you should get in the ring in front of 5 people or 50 people and get every rep you can. Well, I'm going to challenge that and say, if you're not going to get any better by working in front of, okay, so an audience has to respond, right? You have to be able to coach and coax and maneuver yourself and set up the psychology to where you're eliciting a response.
Yeah.
I say all the time, wrestling is an interactive experience.
Sure.
So if you're not being able to extract a response by what you're doing because of whatever reason, there's some venues that don't have air conditioning. It's 150 degrees in there. You're the 8th match on the card. You're not going to be creating, WrestleMania level responses out there.
Right.
They're not going to be oohing and ahhing at every single move that you're doing. Right. So again, looking at it and just saying, okay, we'll try to work guys better than you. Understand that they're better than you, and then accepting that feedback, and again, getting out there, trying to get on quality shows. Does that mean that you're setting up the ring some? Does that mean maybe you're showing up just to network and hand off some promo shots and to shake hands and see how you fit in the locker room? Do that.
Right.
And where you go, make sure you always introduce yourself, and again, stay humble and treat everybody the same.
Yeah.
That's been my advice for him since day one.
That's good advice, and that's good advice for anybody. I mean, a lot of people should take that advice. We probably wouldn't be in some of the mess we see out here today. Ken, we've been going about an hour, brother, and I don't want to hold you up too long. For all the people who might need to get in touch with Ken Magnum for some bookings, or just want to touch base with you, or maybe book you for something, how do people get a hold of Ken Magnum?
Well, I mean, I don't run a separate Facebook anymore. Matter of fact, I was off of Facebook and social media because of a situation tied to wrestling all the way back in 2011. And Zanty and I just got back on Facebook in 2022, I believe. So we've just been back on, 3 or 4 years. So I just operate, the Ken Dotson Facebook there. And then, of course, anybody that reaches out to me there, I usually just use that.
Yeah.
And then, we can network from there either through instant messenger or email. Don't mind sharing my email. And if you come referred, then I'll say I'm going to share a phone number as well. I'm old school. I'm a texter. Nothing wrong with that.
All right.
And then my wife and son are trying to talk me into getting a presence on Instagram. I am managing the Instagram for my workplace now, as well as their Facebook page. So I'm getting familiar, but just haven't took that leap yet.
Gotcha. Well, man, you're a blessing. Thank you again for coming on and sharing your testimony and your story. What dates you got coming up? You got some big dates coming up you want to get out there so people come see you in the ring?
Yeah, absolutely. So, got several coming up. Actually got 2 events this weekend, double shotting on Saturday. So we have Wrestling for Christ at the Peach Festival in Gaffney, this Saturday at 1:00. And then we have a show ran at the HWA Arena in Gilkey or Rutherford, North Carolina, Saturday night. Doors open 6:30, bell time 7:30, and that is for a young mother named Tiffany who has been diagnosed with a brain tumor. And we're going to be raising money for her and her family that night. So if anybody's in the area or want to give a donation and stuff, just obviously hit me up. I can connect you with the right people in order to do that and bless that family. As well as, with WFC, there's opportunity to pour into foreign missions there because they take a group to the Philippines every year and minister the gospel to the children of the Philippines and do a 2-week tour over there. And do wrestling shows and promote Bible schools and get out there and preach and talk and network and share the gospel. And then, Community Championship Wrestling, their show that's titled Pro Wrestling is for Everyone is coming up, I think, August 15th here in Roebuck. And then, so we've got that show that night. Of course, Xander and I are not on it this go around, but AWL's got one that same night down in Pickens. So again, if you're in that area, go support those guys. Again, you don't get better quality as far as promotion and production value and quality down there. It's a great show, so I recommend supporting that one as well. And then, 3 Count will be back at the end of August. I want to say, I think it's the 22nd with Aftershock. So we'll be back in Greenville at Calvary First Baptist, then doing that. And then, the rest of the year is filling up, man. It's exciting. Got some fun stuff planned. Excited about Country Santa Clash this year. Got a big one planned for that. So, and that's, of course, under the 3 Count banner and Country Santa and that toy drive in Pickens County later this year. So, yeah, just excited about what God's doing, man, and some great opportunities coming up. So just try to stay healthy and keep on keeping on.
Man, that is a full schedule. I'm proud of you for being out there and getting that much done. That's a lot in a short period of time. There's a big one over here, I think in Abbeville on August 2nd. Hoss is doing. You mentioned Hoss earlier. Are you not on that one?
Oh, let's see. I was worried this was going to come up. Let's be honest. I mean, what did I say earlier? These guys know that if I'm on a show, chances are their guy ain't going to look like a star anymore.
There you go.
So I think, I tell you what, I don't think. Yep. I'm going to make a guarantee right here. This is for the Regalwood podcast. This is for you, and it's for anybody listening.
Yep.
I'm going to be in Abbeville.
Wow.
And I'm going to show up. And regardless of where I am or what I do, I'll determine that when I get there. But I can guarantee you this, when I show up at WrestleForce and that show in Abbeville, South Carolina at Civic Center, I'm going to make an impact. And nobody, let me repeat that so you'll understand. Nobody is safe.
Wow. Breaking news right here on Regalwood Rasslin from the Loaded Gunz Kid Magnum. He will be in Abbeville on August 2nd, and nobody's safe. Wow, that's big news, man. That's interesting. I've been thinking and mulling over about going to that thing, and you may have just sold me, my friend. I think I'm gonna come over there and see what's gonna happen, because that's a stacked show, and with the addition of Loaded Gunz Kid Magnum, it's gonna be an event. I just got that feeling. Ken, I can't thank you enough.
Don't forget, you've also got another invitation that I know personally. So there's a War Games coming up for Heroes to Legends in October.
Yeah, I do have that.
Need to come to that one. Big 8-man tag, Sylva, North Carolina. That one's going to be one you need to come to, sir. I guarantee you.
I appreciate that, and I do appreciate the invitation. It does mean a lot to me. Ken Magnum, man, thank you so much. You've been a great guest, and I appreciate you. I hope we can do this again in the future. Before I let you go and get you out of here, one last question, and I ask this to most everybody I have on, and I want to get your final thought here. When you're done and the career's over, what do you hope people remember the most about Ken Magnum, the performer, the man, the husband? What do you hope people remember about you once it's said and done?
I'll be honest, I haven't ever been asked that question before. But I think you actually answered that question for yourself and for the audience in my introduction. I want to, if people are going to remember me or recall matches with me or shows I performed on or anything, it's just, be respected and be, just a straight up good guy. I just want to be remembered as somebody that obviously honored my peers, respected my peers, as well as, be the man and the Christian that I'm called to be. Right. So, at the end of the day, I just want to reflect Christ in my actions and in my words and how I address people. And at the end of the day, again, like I said before, and I'll keep repeating it because it's the truth. I'm a golden rule kid. And that's how I want to be remembered. It's just, Ken Magnum is a great performer, always did his best. But at the end of the day, it's very highly respected and just a golden rule kid.
Well, man, you got my respect, and I appreciate you again for doing this. It means a lot to me that you came on today and we had this long talk. Very honest and open. And is there anything? And remember, it's Ken Dotson on Facebook, KenDotson. Anything you want to leave the fans with before we get you out of here, my friend?
All honesty, just want to thank everybody for the last 22 years. Across the business, anybody that I've ever met, encountered, the fans support, obviously, because we couldn't do it without you guys, as fans. And then, just the support of my peers and being one of the boys. You guys gave me something to belong to and some memories and some stories for the grandkids one day. And for that, I'll always be in debt to professional wrestling for that. It's a blessing.
That's awesome. God bless you, Ken Magnum, man. I appreciate you for coming on today. And I hope, I hope we get to do this again in the future. And I hope to see you, since you broke that big news here, I hope to see you on August 2nd, man. I think that's going to be an interesting night.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys again for having me and for the opportunity. And anytime, you just let me know.
I'll do it, my friend. I'll do it. You take care and be safe out there, brother. I'll see you down the road. That's
yes,
Ken
sir.
Magnum. Thank him so much for coming on here and being a part of the program today. Really, really honest, really, just putting it all out there, man, and you couldn't ask for anything better. I even broke some news here on the big show today about Ken's attendance at the big Abbeville show coming up. So we'll see how that gets over with Hoss and his crowd. Maybe they'll have a response to that coming up. That's going to do it for the interview portion of the program. I'm going to take a short, quick break, and when we come back, we'll do our most ridiculous item of the week, and then we'll call it a day. That's all coming up right here next on Regalwood Rasslin. Stand by. All right, back here on Regalwood Rasslin, episode 16. Episode 16, we're still live, coming up on 2 hours. I'm going to get you guys out of here, I promise. This was a little bit longer one today, but I think it's Ken is a honest guy. What can you say about a guy like that? He's just. I think Thomas Simpson said it best about him. And Thomas, as you all know, is not high on giving compliments. But he said he's salt of the earth. And I think what better description can you give a guy like that? I mean, he is literally the salt of the earth, and he is just a all-around good cat, has the heart in the right place, been through a lot, and come through it certainly for the better. And now his family's joining him in the business, and it's just got to be that's got to be a thrill. All right. Gonna do our most ridiculous item of the week right now. This comes to us from a guy named John Quinn. I don't know John Quinn. I don't even know how it came across my algo. But thank God it did, because this is 3 minutes long. And all I don't even know how to set it up. The guy in the ring, and I'm assuming it is either this John Quinn or it's somebody that's a part of this event. It's in a backyard. It's in a ring, but the guy in the red, I guess, is supposed to be their Hogan, because he does all of this, and he even does a pose like the Hogan pose. This guy, if there ever should be a Most Ridiculous Hall of Fame, this guy's will be a first round draft for the Most Ridiculous Hall of Fame if we ever get that up and running. This is legendary, and I don't want to belabor this because again, it's 3 minutes. It'll probably feel like 45, but just please join me in watching and enjoying. I don't know where this is. I don't know who these people are. I can't tell you their names. I'm assuming this is John Quinn in the ring, but maybe it's not. But without further, please enjoy your most ridiculous item of the week, and that's coming up right now. Check this out. Let me get myself out of the way here. Just check it out. Please just
finish him! It was part of his costume.
Hogan, man, he's dead, but he still looks good.
Now that wasn't terrible, but we ain't done yet.
Oh, he breaks out again at 295. Oh, chin
You got this!
Chin lock. A lot of people
got
don't
this,
break
New
out
York.
of this. Oh, but Boogie Down is. Oh, elbow to the gut. Another elbow to the gut.
And that, I don't know why the camera goes sideways right here, but it certainly doesn't hurt the production. You can still see the quality.
You can do it! Oh, snap.
What are you doing here? How'd you even get here?
Who's that? Oh, the executioner.
Wow! He's in a zip line and
Boogie Down looking at one of his.
No, he is hulking up.
We should have brought this man on.
Big boot.
Shot to the chest.
2 big boots. Are we gonna get a leg drop? Gotta get a leg drop. Look at the physique. Look at the physique on this guy. Even doing the real American music. I don't understand. What are we doing? What are we doing? And Lay says, look at the crowd. They did have a house. But how do you... I just... God bless. God bless. Thomas says he knew I was going to be doing that one. Hall Saygood says he's going to be in contact with Mr. Magnum. That should be an interesting conversation. I'd like to know where that came from, or where that conversation will go. That should be interesting. Hey, we'll need a resolution here, Hoss. If you guys, if y'all are contacting him, we need his resolution. We need to get some resolve on that. Thomas said he knew I was going to do that one. Look, man. Using Hogan's music, doing the whole pose thing. I just What? When do you realize, and the people are laughing. They're not laughing with you. They're laughing at you, Timu Hogan. If there ever was, and I hate when people put Timu on top of everything that's trash, but if there ever was a Timu version of Hulk Hogan, that is the definition of a Timu Hogan right there. But he got a pop. What are you going to do? More like a trailer than a house. I just don't know what, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know why. People, and I hope they're not charging for that stuff. If it's just a something for the neighborhood, okay. But if you're charging for that, what are you gonna do? 2-hour show today. I'm sorry we went so long. I appreciate those of you who've hung out with me this long. I appreciate those of you who will watch this in the future. Drop us a like, drop us a comment, share the video, get us out there in the algorithm. It just helps us to get to more people who enjoy this particular brand of nonsense. The ring was 2 feet off the ground. Yeah, I mean, there were so many things, and we could go and watch it again, but we're not going to. I'm going to save you the indignity and myself the indignity of having to see that again. But my God. Next week, we are scheduled for Thursday at 3 p.m. We'll be back with episode 17. I may not have a guest next week. I may just do the, if I can get confirmation this week from Thomas and Lace, we may just do the correspondence from the gathering there in Charlotte as part of the show. That will be the biggest part of the show. We'll see. I mean, we'll update on the Regalwood Rasslin Facebook page throughout the week and let you know what we're doing next week. But we are scheduled for Thursday at 3 of next week. Until then, I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate those of you who joined me today, those who will join me. Again, thanks to Ken Magnum for coming on and being part of the show today. Really good interview with Ken. If you missed any or all of that, you can check it out on the YouTube channel, of course, Wrestle Radio 860 on YouTube, Wrestle Radio 860, Twitch, Regalwood 6969, Facebook, of course, Ricky Regal, RIKKI, REGAL, Rumble, and Kick, our Regalwood, and there, of course, is your mascot, the big, giant, awesome bulldog. All right, that wraps up another one. That's episode 16 in the books. I'll